What's up YouTube? I'm Charmaine Jamil and welcome back to another video. This week's video, I really wanted to talk about anxiety. I just think now more than ever that this topic is just really something that people really just need helpful tips and tools on how to deal with their just generalized anxiety. I was a person that really focused and suffered from anxiety when I was a bit younger because I would always just kind of sit and lay in bed and my thoughts would just be going. And it's a lot of what if questions. What if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? How am I supposed to do this? Where am I supposed to find that? Where, you ask a lot of the where, when, why, what questions. I am a person that has to understand why something is happening to really process that emotion and really kind of go through the full cycle of being okay with whatever situation or environment that I am in. I'm one of those people, I kind of understood what it meant to confront my anxiety and fear a lot later on in life. And if that is, if you're someone finding yourself in that place, because we really kind of experience anxiety for a lot of different reasons. Life is hard and I definitely don't take that away. However, I do think sometimes we experience these moments of anxiety is because we kind of get stuck and locked in our fears and not really having that fluidity to really think through, okay, if this is happening, how can I respond to this? What can I do that's going to, one, at least eliminate this problem that I'm having right now, or bring down the level of impact of how this problem is going to impact my life. I know probably within the most recent time for me, now that I'm, really truly thinking about it, the last time that I just really had really deep anxiety was when I was in school getting my doctoral degree. And, it was a really great experience up until you got to the point where you're having to write, this paper, this manuscript. And at that particular time, I did not feel that my mentor lead was really helping me through the process to finish out, this entire process, because it's a lot of time, it's a lot of, money, and they only give you 2 semesters from where the school that I went. They only give you 2 semesters to complete the full, to complete the manuscript. And I had already gone through a semester and I would stay up in the middle of the night and really questioning my ability. What's wrong? Why can't I get this? And it got to the end of the semester where it was like, okay, Charmaine, you're being put on probation. I got the probation email and everything. So my anxiety during that time was through the roof. But I always, what ended up helping me come back or bring my anxiety levels down is because I really was not thinking about the options that I had that I could take to move forward. I kept trying to stay, I was almost kind of like in a pinwheel, like a loop, where I said, you need to speak with someone else, because if you stay in this little bubble, then all of this is going to get flushed down the toilet for you and you're going to have to start all over. And this was 3 years of my life where I had been spending all of this time. Long story short, I think we all know the outcome because I have pictures and videos posted from my graduation day. But the one thing that I really had to understand in that whole process where my anxiety was through the roof, I kind of threw out a practice of knowing, well, what are your options, Charmaine? So that is a part of my tips. I know I'm kind of like going out of order. I just really wanted to share that specific story with you. But the 3 tips that I normally use when I talk about confronting my own anxiety, the first tip that I always try to make sure that I stick with is I affirm myself. Because a lot of times we have anxiety where we just, our minds and our bodies stop, where we cannot sometimes see the full cycle of something go through. Normally when something happens to us, or we get a letter in the mail, or we get an email that says, hey, HR needs to meet with you, or whatever that instant situation that happens to you, and your body and your nervous system kind of tenses up, sometimes it tenses up because we don't see all of how am I going to get through this? What am I going to say? What am I going to do? It's almost kind of like a barrier is put in front of you. So the first tip that I always do is I affirm myself. I affirm my abilities, and whatever the outcome of this, I know that I'm going to be okay. I know that I will figure out how to get through whatever this presented barrier is. Number 2, knowing what your options are. That is how you're going to kind of push yourself through in seeing step by step of what actions you need to take, what plans you need to outline to know that you can handle whatever this presented problem is. And so when I ask myself, what are my options, I'm really kind of looking at it twofold. I'm looking at what are my immediate options as well as what are my long-term options. And I really think it's important for you to really set out and think about your long-term options, is because in your long-term options, that gives you the opportunity to either eliminate the problem that you have or eliminate the barrier in your life, or really minimize the impact of this particular barrier coming back up to really have some type of effect on you. Not to say that you can't have, 4 or 5 or 6 different options, but you really want to think about what are some options that I can act upon, within the day, within the next day, within that week. Because when you know your options, then you start to think of your action steps. What are my action steps? What plan can I make to remove this barrier or eliminate this particular barrier that's giving me anxiety? And then the tip number 3, which is move that energy from your body, that tenseness from your body, move it to something else. So a lot of times when I get start to have anxiety, what I have noticed to move that energy somewhere else, I have to just kind of put whatever I'm doing, I have to just kind of put that stuff down and just go for a walk. Not anything where I'm necessarily having to put on my tennis shoes and do a power walk, but I have to really get that energy, that basically that dopamine within my body. I have to kind of let that go through. And so I just kind of take myself for a walk, because as I'm walking, that's another place where I am thinking about what are my options? What can I do now? So whatever that hobby that you have, or that is the opportunity for you to create a hobby, walking, needling, sewing, cycling, however it's going, whatever it is. But if you don't necessarily have a hobby where you can kind of put some of that energy, that anxious nervousness, to kind of rid yourself and calm yourself down, just go for a walk, a quick walk that you can really just breathe through what's happening, to get your thoughts, to get your thought process freely flowing and not just being cut off and really only looking at, this is the barrier in front of me. This is going to be the demise of me. I'm going to, go down in shambles, because a lot of times that's what keeps us feeling anxious, is because we feel like there is no other option, when there really is. We just have to think about it. And, you might be one of those people that have to put it on paper. I was one of those people, I had to put it on paper first and then kind of start marking it out. But now I've been practicing these 3 tips, affirming myself, understanding what my options are, really moving that energy away so that I can freely think about what is the next best thing that I can do, and also taking a step further of thinking about what is a long-term option that I have that can eliminate or really reduces the impact of this particular barrier happening again in my life. So I really hope that these 3 tips just give you a opportunity to get your thought process together and how you may confront your anxiety. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.